Recognized.
I am grateful for the opportunity to bring this legislation before the House today, and I want to thank my bipartisan colleagues in both chambers who have worked to advance this important effort. In the House, I thank Ranking Member Jamie Raskin and Representatives Scott Fitzgerald, Jerry Nadler, and Maggie Goodlander. In the Senate, I thank Senators John Cornyn, Ted Cruz, Richard Blumenthal, and Chuck Schumer. The Nazi regime committed unimaginable atrocities during the Holocaust, murdering millions of Jews and destroying families, communities, and livelihoods. But the regime also carried out a systemic campaign of cultural theft. Hundreds of thousands of works of art and cultural objects were confiscated or misappropriated from Jewish families and other persecuted groups across Europe. These were not simply possessions, they were pieces of family history, identity, and legacy. After World War II, the United States and our allies attempted to return stolen artworks to their rightful owners, yet many pieces were never reunited with the families from whom they were taken. In the decades since, these works have surfaced in museums, galleries, and private collections around the world. In 1998, the United States convened the Washington Conference on Nazi-confiscated art with more than 40 nations. The conference produced the Washington Principles, which called on governments and institutions to take steps to achieve just and fair solutions for families seeking return of their stolen property. Congress took an important step toward that goal in 2016 when it enacted the Holocaust Expropriated Art Recovery Act. That law was designed to ensure Holocaust survivors and their heirs would have a fair opportunity to pursue claims in court, and that those claims would be decided on their merits, not dismissed because too much time had passed. Unfortunately, courts have sometimes applied technical defenses in ways that undermine Congress's intent. This means that families who lost everything during the Holocaust can still be denied their day in court because of procedural barriers. This bill fixes that problem. This bill removes the upcoming expiration date in the original law and clarifies that these cases should be decided on the facts, not dismissed on technicalities. As someone who previously served as a judge in Florida and now serves on the Judiciary Committee, I believe deeply that Congress must speak clearly and provide judges with standards and guidance to apply in their courtrooms. Justice should not depend on procedural loopholes or arbitrary decisions when families are seeking the return of property stolen during one of history's greatest crimes. And behind every claim is a family story. Even today, descendants of Holocaust victims are still searching for works of art that once hung in their grandparents' homes. In some cases, families spent generations preserving photographs, letters, and fragments of evidence in hopes of one day recovering a painting or sculpture that represents their family's past. For many of these families, these cases are not about the monetary value of the artwork. They are about restoring a piece of history that was taken from them. The Nazi regime stole not only lives, but legacies. They stole hundreds of thousands of artwork pieces in what has been termed the greatest displacement of art in human history. The Nazis looted over 600,000 works of art and artifacts. To this day, more than 100,000 of these works are not yet recovered. More than 100,000 works of art and artifacts are still missing. This legislation helps ensure that survivors and their heirs have the opportunity to reclaim those legacies and that their claims are heard fairly in American courts. I want to thank the many organizations supporting this effort, including Art Ashes, the American Jewish Committee, the Anti-Defamation League, Jewish Women International, the Florida Holocaust Museum, and many others who continue working to preserve memory and pursue justice. Despite the passage of time since the horrors of the Holocaust, it is never too late to do the right thing. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to support this bill and ensure the families seeking the return of their stolen heritage are given the justice they deserve. I reserve the balance of my time.